Additional $200. Visit windownation.com.
Good morning, America. Breaking news as we come on the air. Royal baby watch. The Duchess in labor right now. We're live at the hospital for the big arrival of Prince George and Princess Charlotte's new sibling.
Also breaking right now, the massive manhunt for the gunman who opened fire at a Waffle House, killing 4.
Someone is shot. Units respond.
What we're now learning about his past, the run-in with the Secret Service near the White House, and this morning the hero who wrestled the gun from the shooter's hands is live on GMA. President Trump's new tweet storm on North Korea and his attorney Michael Cohen. And our exclusive new report, for the first time a woman comes forward to back Stormy Daniels' claim that she was threatened to keep quiet about President Trump.
Terrifying twisters tear across the South, destroying homes, this massive funnel cloud going from the water to land in Florida. Now the new threat this morning as that system moves up the East Coast.
And Spellbound, the new Harry Potter play bringing the magic to Broadway. Will the most expensive play ever also be the biggest hit?
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
And good morning, America. Hope you're all well this Monday morning. It is an exciting one in London. Let's take a live look right now at St. Mary's Hospital. That's where Princess Kate is giving birth.
The press and the royal fans are staked outside the Lindo wing, waiting for Kate, William, and of course the new baby to appear. But that means anyone else who comes out of those doors may get a little surprise when they walk out, like this couple had their baby and walked out and said, hey, everybody really cares about us.
I know, come out with your newborn to that. Our foreign correspondent, James Longman, is there on the scene. He has the very latest. So, James, what are you learning right now?
Good morning, Robin. We are right outside St. Mary's Hospital in central London, where Kate was brought just before 6 a.m. this morning. And ABC News also understands that today was her expected due date. That's a detail that wasn't previously released. Over the weekend, Kate was noticeably absent at this star-studded celebration for Queen Elizabeth's 92nd birthday. William showed up solo, while Harry was accompanied by his future bride-to-be, Meghan Markle. The baby will be 5th in line to the throne, bumping Harry down to 6th, and in a first for the monarchy, Princess Charlotte will remain 4th in line, regardless of whether the baby is a boy or girl. William is expected to stop by with George and Charlotte, just like he did in 2015, so the kids can get their first look at baby Cambridge. We're yet to hear whether she's had the baby yet, but when she does, a notice will be put up outside Buckingham Palace, as is tradition. That will announce the sex and the weight of the baby, but no names yet. We'll all be kept guessing for a few more days for that. There'll also be an announcement on Twitter, and then Kate and William will come down on the steps here, as they did with Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Kate spent just 10 hours in the hospital with Charlotte before giving birth. There's no plans for such a speedy exit this time round. That'll all depend on the delivery, of course.
Of course, and we hope that all is going well. And speaking of the two little siblings, how long, remind us how long Kate was in labor with them?
Well, Kate spent 10 hours in the hospital in labor with Prince George last time round, 2.5 for Princess Charlotte, so everyone is going to be hoping that at least as quick or even quicker this time round, guys.
Just as long as baby and mother are healthy, that's all we care about. All right, James, thanks so much. Michael?
All right, thank you, Robin. We have a lot more on that coming up, but now to that big breaking story out of Tennessee. A massive manhunt is underway for the gunman who killed 4 people at a Waffle House near Nashville. The city is on edge this morning. ABC's Ariel Reshef is there with the very latest. And Ariel, we're learning more about the suspect's past this morning.
That's right, Michael. The suspect was well known to authorities. He had a history of mental illness and run-ins with the law. Many concerned about how he was able to slip through the cracks as authorities here go house to house, warning residents to be on alert.
This morning, an urgent manhunt underway for 29-year-old Travis Reinking. The suspect, police say, is behind an early morning massacre at this Waffle House just outside Nashville.
Someone is shot. Units respond.
Reinking, believed to be armed and dangerous, accused of opening fire, killing 4 and wounding several others. 3:19 a.m. Sunday, witnesses at Waffle House say they spotted the shooter sitting in his pickup truck in the parking lot. Minutes later, he allegedly got out of the truck wearing nothing but a green jacket, wielding this AR-15 assault rifle. First, fatally shooting 2 people outside the restaurant before killing 2 more inside. The suspect stopping briefly to check his weapon, Patron James Shaw using the pause and the panic to wrestle the gun away.
I'm not a hero. I'm just a regular person. And I think anybody could have did what I did.
Without his weapon, police say the shooter fled the scene on foot.
He went to his apartment, put on a pair of pants, and then went to a wood line behind the apartment.
Authorities reporting Reinking had a history of mental illness. A 2016 incident report showing emergency response services were called to a CVS parking lot where Reinking was delusional and believed Taylor Swift was harassing him, stalking, and hacking his phone. And this morning, another disturbing revelation. In 2017, Reinking arrested by the Secret Service for trespassing in a restricted area near the White House. At the time, his 4 firearms seized by police turned over to his father, who police say they believe later gave all of them back to his son, including the rifle police say Reinking used Sunday to gun down his victims. Among the dead, 20-year-old Joe Perez, 23-year-old Aquila De Silva, 21-year-old DeEbony Groves, and 29-year-old Torian Sonderland.
And all of those victims under 30 years old, one of them a talented photographer, friends tell us had a heart of gold. Another a student who wanted to be a social worker. Meanwhile, the hunt for their killer continues. And Michael, despite major concern over the suspect's mental state, still police say there is no motive for this massacre. Michael?
All right, Ariel, thank you for your report. And James Shaw Jr., the man whose quick action stopped the gunman, joins us now from Nashville. And Mr. Shaw, I gotta say, it's an honor to speak to you. And we know you were injured in the attack. How are you feeling this morning?
How's it going, Mr. Strahan? I'm doing all right. I'm a little bumped and bruised. I've still got some blisters and stuff on my hands from where I actually grabbed the barrel of the gun after it was being discharged. But I'm all right. I'm gonna make it.
Well, we're happy for that. And can you tell us exactly what happened?
So me and my friend, we were out at a club earlier, and we went to a Waffle House a little closer into town. Well, a little closer in Antioch where the club was, but it just was packed, and it probably had 2 or 3 times as many people as the Waffle House on Murfreesboro Road did. So when we went to that one, Murfreesboro Road, it was about 3:17-ish when we walked in, and then we both, I don't know if my friend saw his face, but I saw his face. We kind of saw each other, and then I walked in. So we sat down, and we weren't sitting down for more than about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we were looking at the cook. He was actually washing dishes, and he was putting the clean dishes on the hood, and he was stacking them pretty high, and we were thinking that, that could fall. And we was watching him. He had 2 or 3 stacks of them, and then he just kept stacking them, and we heard the first, what I know now was a gunshot, and we was like, those are plates that just fell, and then we heard another one. And then at this time, we saw the Waffle House workers kind of scatter to go left and right, and then they went down. And then I looked back, and there was a gentleman at the entrance way of the door, and he was dead, laying there on the ground. And he shot through the window, and that's when I jumped from my seat over to the entrance of the bathroom. And then he turned to the left and he kind of shot some more, and then he turned back to the right. Well, when he started turning back to the right, me and some other guys got in we went in the bathroom behind the swivel door, and behind that swivel door, you can go to either bathroom. And I actually just stood in the hallway because I didn't want to be locked in there with just no line of sight. And I just wanted to kind of keep an eye on him and see what was going on. So he shot actually through that door, and one of the bullets grazed me. And then I think that's when I became alert about the situation. It was like there's kind of no running from this. It's kind of like a fish in a barrel type thing, and I'm gonna have to try to find some kind of flaw or a point in time where I can, you know, make this work for myself. And so when he put the barrel of...
And I know, James, that at one point you jumped in and you wrestled the gun away from him. What was the opening that was there for you to do that? What I'm learning now is I think he was reaching in his pocket and he was about to reload the weapon, and the barrel of the gun was down. So that's when I took my opportunity, and I kind of was just wrestling it from him, and I ran through the door at full speed, hit him with the door, and took the gun and threw it over the bar, and then I took him and myself outside the restaurant. And then I was just trying to run away from him, and just you know, get to freedom. Well, you said that anybody could have done what you did, and I don't know if that's true. But you said also that you're not a hero. But I got to say, your quick thinking is being credited with saving a lot of lives. Have you had a chance to talk to any of the other survivors who were in that restaurant with you?
Just my best friend. He was actually there with me in the restaurant with me. He was in one of the bathrooms, and we kind of talked about it, but we haven't went into depth about talking about it because it was kind of hard to talk about it yesterday. It was hitting home, but I haven't talked to any of the other survivors. I know it's the guy that was outside, the locksmith that was outside. He told me that I was a hero, and he said that on one of another interview, but I haven't really got the chance to talk to anybody. No, sir.
Well, I would tell you this, James. Like I said earlier, thank you, and it's an honor to speak to you. And you are a hero. You may not see yourself as a hero, but everyone else really does, and we're glad that you were there in that restaurant and you put your life at risk to save others. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your time this morning, and hope you have a very speedy and full recovery.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So humble.
Very, very humble and very
about it all.
brave, obviously.
Oh, gosh.
But he did what he had to do when the moment called.
Absolutely.
We're going to go to the White House now. President Trump back from Mar-a-Lago Sunday after unleashing a storm of tweets about his embattled lawyer Michael Cohen and that high-stakes nuclear summit with North Korea. Chief White House correspondent John Carl tracking it all. And John, let's begin with North Korea. The president pushing back against the idea that he's given away too much to get this hoped-for nuclear summit with North Korea.
Yeah, we don't have a date for the summit. We don't have a location for the summit, but the president is already declaring that there's been significant progress. North Korea has announced that they will suspend their missile testing and they will shut down one of their nuclear test sites. That prompted the president to tweet, "Wow, we haven't given up anything, and they have agreed to denuclearization. So great for the world, site closure, and no more testing." George, of course, the North Koreans have not agreed to denuclearization yet. But the president is saying that he is optimistic about this, despite the fact that North Koreans over the last 20 years have many times suspended the program, only to restart it after they have had economic benefits as a result.
Meantime, the president's sending all kinds of signals over Twitter to his embattled attorney, Michael Cohen.
He sure is. He's doing everything he can to remind Michael Cohen that he has the pardon to power. He has the power to pardon. He, of course, pardoned Scooter Libby. He has also announced that he is inclined to pardon Jack Johnson, the first African-American heavyweight champion of the world, who many, many years ago was sentenced to jail for having an affair with a white woman.
John Call, thanks very much.
All right, George, now to new developments in that Facebook privacy scandal. Two key figures are preparing to testify, including the researcher accused of improperly giving Facebook data about tens of millions of Americans to a research firm that was later connected to the Trump campaign. We're going to speak to him live in a moment, but first, our chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, has the latest.
He's the scientist at the heart of the Facebook privacy scandal, Alexander Kogan, a researcher at the University of Cambridge who lawfully ran a personality test on Facebook in 2014 to collect the data of millions of Americans. But according to Facebook, broke company policy when he shared that information with political consultancy Cambridge Analytica.
So, I mean, at the time, I thought we were doing everything that was correct. You know, I was kind of acting, honestly, quite naively. I thought we were doing everything okay.
Kogan telling 60 Minutes what he did on the social network was a common occurrence among researchers. His quiz downloaded about 270,000 times, according to Facebook, put as many as 87 million users' information at risk.
People signed into that app expecting to share the data with Kogan, and then he turned around and, in violation of our policies and in violation of people's expectations, sold it to a third-party firm, to Cambridge Analytica in this case.
The information, including everything from user locations to genders to interests, as well as information on their friends, potentially valuable in swaying voters with targeted advertising.
The idea that we stole the data, I think, is technically incorrect. I mean, this is not a hack.
For Good Morning America, Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.
Thanks to Rebecca for that. Dr. Alexander Kogan joins us now. And I want to pick up where we just left off there. Dr. Kogan, you say it wasn't technically correct, but Mark Zuckerberg has accused you of deceiving Facebook, violating Facebook policy by selling that information to third parties. Your response?
So I think they're being a little misleading. The idea that this was a hack is flat out wrong. It's like, imagine a warehouse. We didn't break in. We went on Amazon and ordered the data, and they delivered it to us. This is a key feature of their system.
But you weren't supposed to sell it, right?
So even that is a little silly, because if you go and look at Facebook apps right now, most have language they say they could transfer the data to third parties. So it's a bit like you work in a building and everybody's bringing in their dog. So you bring in your dog, and your dog pees in the wrong place. And management is now coming to you and saying, how could you bring in your dog? We have a clear no pet policy. And I'm just looking around thinking about, what about literally everyone else?
So everyone does it isn't necessarily a defense. I know you feel like you're being scapegoated, but do people have a right to be angry?
Oh, absolutely. But I think it has nothing to do with this transfer of data idea. I think it has everything to do with the way that tech companies have been running for a long time in terms of using data. Because the fundamental business model here is, we're going to take your data and use it for whichever way we want to try to sell you things. And that's just the business norm. And I think that's what's really upsetting.
The whistleblower, Christopher Wiley, has also raised your ties to Russia in all this. When you were working for Cambridge Analytica, did you have any ties to Russia, travel to Russia, and was that connected to Cambridge Analytica?
So I think a lot of that is xenophobic nonsense, to be frank. I had a loose affiliation with the university there and went and gave a few talks there, but nothing more. Most Russians, just like most Americans, are normal, decent folk, have nothing to do with spycraft.
So is that an absolute denial? You had nothing to do with Russian interference in the American election?
I think it's honestly a preposterous claim that has no backing, and absolutely not.
Okay. Dr. Kogan, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Michael?
All right, now let's go to Rob with the latest on the weather. Those tornadoes across the southeast. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, good morning, Michael. There were 4 of them yesterday. This is one of them in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. You see this dramatic video. No word on the how strong this was. Probably about an EF1. You see the debris flying around. There's another view. It actually went over water for a short time there. And we have a threat for thunderstorms today across parts of the southeast. A slow-moving system that's going to bring rain. So in some cases, it's much needed, but it eventually gets to the northeast tomorrow and on Wednesday. Your local forecast is 30 seconds away, but time now for your Select Cities, brought to you by Gain Botanicals.
Mother Nature. Nothing smells greater than the great outdoors, especially when you're in accounts receivable. Only one detergent can give you a sniff like this. Try Gain Botanicals laundry detergent. One of the many irresistible scents from Gain.
And the trend continues after that gorgeous weekend. Today, mid to upper 60s for high temperatures. Even this morning, not too bad at 50, 65 by lunchtime today. We're tracking some rain, though, for midweek. Tuesday and Wednesday looking fairly wet, with probably most of the heaviest rain coming our way. Tuesday during the overnight, and for that Wednesday morning rush, could get more than an inch of rain in a few neighborhoods. So the bookends of this week will be your nicest at 68 degrees for a high today and 68 on Friday. Nice weekend ahead as well.
And for those of the East, spring making a brief appearance this Sunday and Monday. Brief. Enjoy it, guys.
I know.
No.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah. Coming up, we're live in London. Have the latest on the new royal baby, the Duchess, in labor right now. The excitement growing this morning.
And our ABC News exclusive, the first woman coming forward to back porn star Stormy Daniels' story about President Trump. That's coming right up.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy Claritin with powerful 24-hour relief.